Hi, this is Hey Vern from the Anime Studio Forum. I'm going to be demonstrating some scripts I created to help out with creating like head and body turns, symmetrical type turning smart bones. A lot of times the 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 keyframes for points are repeated. The basic shape is repeated, but you have to sort of do it over and over and over because it's difficult to move those keys around. So I wrote some scripts to speed this up. I'm going to be demonstrating it using just a really basic, simple head with eyes and a nose. That's it. No ears, because there's some layer ordering and that takes time to fiddle around with. I just wanted to keep it simple to show you how you can save some time with these scripts. Basically, I've pre-set up a single smart bone. It's called action bone. I've set up an action for that action bone, and I've done a partial head turn in this action. Before we start, I just want to demonstrate some things to keep in mind to work with this script. Um, the points have to be symmetrical. So in this case, here's my front view of my face, the head, and it's perfectly symmetrical. These points are exactly down the center, are exactly on 0. These are exact opposites on the x-axis, and they're also exactly the same on the y. So I've also created a script that does this for you. You set it up as close as possible to the 0, and you can copy the right side to the left side. This is also a helpful little script because you can tweak a symmetrical shape, and then you don't have to repeat the tweaking on the other side. You can just copy it straight over as long as these center points are right in the center. And so I'll run that. I'll take the print function out. That's just to make sure all the points got hit. So basically, you didn't see much change because this was already symmetrical. So you want to make sure everything is symmetrical on your vector layers for, say, a head turn. Um, for a body turn, it's different because you're moving bones around, but your skeleton should be set up exactly on the as close as possible to the 0 point. Um, when you're doing turns of that sort. But we're going to be just focusing on the smart bone action duplication. So in this case, I have a single smart bone, got the action already set up. I'm going to go in, take a look at it, and show you what's going on here. Um, what is that? Okay. So here we have the face layer. It already has points. As you scrub through, it turns to the side. So at 96, frame 96, it's a full side turn, and you can sort of see that. It's easier with the face turned on with the rest of the features. So you can see that it's a very basic, ugly, simple, bare bones minimum head turn. The smart bone rotates from uh, from straight up to straight down. So that's a 180 degree. Now, these keys here, and I only have 3 keys at this point, um, is those are the minimum keys I need for a one side turn. Anything else I do beyond this point to fill out this turn is duplication of the data that's already there. So this is 1/4 of an entire turn. So these are the minimum keys I need to start with. So my thought was when I was duplicating effort over and over again was, why do I have to keep recreating everything when all the information I need is stored right there in that first part of that turn? I don't need to do anything else. I should just be able to copy that information and stick it wherever I need it. Even though for an opposite side turn, these points over here would be doing something completely different. The data is still there. The points are symmetrical. I should be able to copy them back and forth seamlessly. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do. These scripts are not done in it by any means. It's not a very streamlined process. It doesn't do like an entire layer all at once with all the keys. I still have some work to do on it. and it's kind of like, it's a little bit funky, but it does what it's supposed to do, and it does save some time. And I'm just going to show you how I've been using it. So here are the keys for that first turn. Now, the point of doing this turn like this, um, I- what I really want to do is, if you notice, the smart bone continues to rotate and it goes around completely twice. And the reason I did that was that um, when you do a head turn and it goes from the front all the way to the back, it's usually stops. And then you do a second smart bone action where it goes in the other direction. And then what that allows you is that gives you a smooth side to side turn from the front view only. You can't get a smooth side to side turn from the back view because you've only gone all the way to the back and then you stopped because you're more focused on the front view. And that's what I discovered, that I didn't have, if I wanted my character facing away from the audience, from the viewer, and turning side to side, he couldn't do that smoothly. So I over rotated the smart bone so that what's going to happen is it's going to get all the way to the back and then it's going to continue around all the way to the front. So it's a full 360 for each the left and the right turn. It's redundant, but since I'm copying the data anyway, and I'm not doing it by hand, it's just as easy to do more than I need as it is to just cut it off. You could stop at the side view on the after turn or whatever, but I just decided to go all the way full to the front on both sides. So full 360 turn from front to front for both turns. So the first step of this is I've got a quarter of the turn here. It goes full to the side, and now I want to duplicate these keyframes so that it'll face to the back. And once again, I'm going to turn these layers off just to keep it simple. So the first thing I'm going to do is select all the points. Down here, I have my tools installed here. This one's called Copy and Reverse Keys after last key. And this one is called Flip Symmetrical Points Horizontally. Now, I put them in a tool palette, in the tool palette as buttons, but you can also just load them as regular scripts, under the draw menu, or wherever you want to put them, as menu scripts. I found that because of the way I'm using it, it's faster for me to put them as buttons. So basically, you don't have to worry about where the keyframe is or anything. It's just counting the keys. Basically, what the first one does, this one here, is it's going to copy and reverse keys. So it's going to copy 72 to 120, and it's going to copy 148 to 144. Um, so I'll just push the button. And there we go. So now you could have done that by hand, just as easily. But as we progress, it's going to get more and more necessary to do more and more of these types of things, and it's just easier doing it this way. Another thing too is if you have point curvature, it'll copy those keys as well. All the scripts, because I do modify the curvature of points. I don't think it's doing width yet. I think it might be doing width. I have to go back and check the code, but that was one of the things I needed to add in. So now we've got full front to side, and then we've got side to back. Now there's a keyframe missing, and the keyframe that's missing for our full to the back is on frame 192. And it's not in the script. I could add it in, but I haven't done it yet. But I'm just going to copy frame 0 and paste it in for frame 192. And that gives us our full um, turn to the back. So now we have a full all the way to the side, all the way to the back. And that's once. And that's on one side. And now, like I said, I wanted to do a full 360 around again, because now we're facing back, but we want to continue in the opposite direction and face forward. Now it's up to you how you want to do it. You could do this, you could do the whole series of steps on each layer one at a time. It might get a little bit confusing if you lose track of where you are. Um, so it might be better to just do it in steps, because you're also going to be copying a lot of the data. So if you have the first one done for all the layers, it's easier to copy that information. So I've got a full front to back uh, for the head face layer. So now my next step would be let's do the nose. The nose is easy. The eye is a little bit hinky, and I'll show you why. So the nose, the same thing. I've got the first part of the sequence done, and I'm just going to click my little magic button here, copy and reverse keys, and it does the same thing to this layer. So now um, it goes here, but once again, on frame 192, I have to copy frame 0 keys, and there you go. And you have to do that afterwards. Don't do it before because it will count that as the last keyframe. Um, so there we go. So now we've got a full, but now if you notice the layer ordering is not correct because at this point here, when it gets to the full side, the nose should go behind the face. Well, I'm not going to worry about layer ordering right now. Um, we'll do that. We'll do that after all the layers are completed because that's a little tricky. Um, and that's why I've set up, I don't know if you've noticed here, but I have 2 eye layers, and one of them is completely empty. I don't even have any points in it. But I have them both set up because I'm going to be doing layer ordering, and I need to have symmetrical points. So I have to do both eyes on one layer to get to flip and flop the points. Um, but I also need to change the order of each eye individually. So eventually I'm going to split them into 2 layers. And this is just easier to keep the 2 layers always in place because I can just copy points and paste it into the other layer. There's no bone binding at this point in this setup. So I'm not worried about that at this point. All right, so we've done the nose, let's do the eyes now. Now the eyes are a little tricky, and you'll see why in a moment. It's the same setup. I've got the eye, and if you notice, here's the left eye from the viewer's point of view. So we've got the left eye and the right eye. And I'll show you why eyes are tricky. The left eye, as the head turns, would be on the right side as it's turning back. And you'll see what happens when I do my little mirror point keyframe flipping. It looks correct. Um, as you can see here, it looks like it's doing the correct thing. Let me copy and paste my keys in for the eyes. And I'll go ahead and copy point curvature as well. All right, so now I got my full turn for eyes, nose, and head. Now, if you watch here, I have this left eye selected, and as it turns, that left eye has now turned into the right eye, which is incorrect. If you're setting this up with other poses and actions for the specific eye, I mean, all of a sudden you don't want your left eye to become your right eye. So the tricky part here is we need to flip the left eye and the right eye animation so that the left eye stays the left eye and is in the correct right side position as the head points to the back. But you only have to do it once, and it's carried through this whole process. So let's go back to frame 96. So here's the correct movement, and there's our left eye. And then it comes to this frame, and hey, our eye's in the wrong spot. All right, so what we're going to do from this point forward is I'm going to flop the positioning. And this is it's really on the eye layer that you have to worry about this. And it's a several step process, but it's important. And keep in mind too, you'd have to be doing this by hand anyway. At least we're copying the data that's already there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to flip on the next frame after 96. As it's moving forward, that left eye should look like this right eye here, and the right eye should look like this eye, because this is now the left eye even though it's on the right side. So what I really want to do is I want to flip. You can see here that's incorrect. This is the left eye. It should be here now because it should be turning around on the head. Now, this may not matter to you if you don't want to bother with it and you don't care that the eyes flip position, that's fine. But in my case, I want this to happen. I want the eyes to change position. So I'm going to click this other script that I created. And what it does is it analyzes the points based on frame 0. So as you recall, on frame 0, everything is centered. So it matches these points up. So then when you go to another frame, so for example, I'm going to frame 120, I want to flip the point positions. So this button will take the point positions on the right side of 0 and flip them with the point positions on the left side of 0. So I click that. This is a Don't worry about that. I'll take that out. That's another broken thing in the script. Okay, so now you can see that it's flipped, but the problem is it's flipped it literally to the other side. So that's not correct either. Um, but let's not worry about that for right now. I'm just going to go through on each frame. So what I'm doing is I'm just clicking ahead with the next keyframe button. I'm clicking the button. This will be easier once I get rid of that annoying pop-up. Okay, so now we got that. So now the eyes are doing something really wacky and crazy over here, which doesn't look quite right, but it will make sense when I do the next step. So now we're going to go back to frame 96, skip to frame 120, and we can see the eyes are in the wrong position. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to select the eye here, and you can see up here in our position, I've got the translate point tool. The reason that the eye's in the wrong spot is because it's flipped. I want to flip it back to the positive and do the same with this one. And I'm going to flip from negative to positive. And now it's in the right spot. And now if you watch this eye here, when it goes past that pivot point, it stays the correct eye. It's now the right eye, and now it's still the left eye, but it's in the right position. And I just do the same thing for each frame. I select the points of the eye and change the x-axis to the opposite number. And then I'll go to the next keyframe. And in this one, I have to do this. And then select inverse and do this. Because we need to flip them. They have to be flipped or it won't work. Okay, so now that is a front position. And that is the front position. I'm sorry, that's the back. Okay, that's a full back. So it's gone full to the side and full to the back. So this is correct. This eye now used to be over here, but because it's facing back, this eye has rotated around and it's on the opposite side. With layering order in place, it makes more sense. So that was a lot easier than doing all these keyframes by hand. It seems a little tricky and tedious, but it saves a truckload of time. And as we move forward, it's going to save even more time because all the keyframing we've done up to this point can be duplicated again exponentially, which is exactly what I'm going to do next. The next step is I've turned to the full back. I want to turn from back in the opposite direction and come forward again. And it's the same process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the face, and I'm going to click my button here, copy and reverse keys after last keyframe. So this is my last keyframe. I want to duplicate everything I've done before on the opposite side of the key in the opposite direction. For the next step, it'll require the other script. So I'm going to click that, and now once again, bang, now we've got the same exact thing on the opposite side, but we also need to copy frame 0. So I'm going to copy the points from frame 0 onto that last keyframe. And now we have the whole thing. Now, of course, as you can see here, when we get to that last keyframe and it starts coming around to the other side, it's going in the wrong direction. And this is where the second script comes in handy. So we select all the points and we click the flip points horizontally. What it's doing is it's finding that center point on frame 0 only. It finds the center point, it matches up the points across, and it flops the position of this point to the position of that point. Now it won't. It may look a little goofy at first, but you just progress down the timeline to each frame, to each keyframe, and it'll eventually look right. And you just keep moving forward until the okay. So 384. That's the last one. And as you can see now, it works perfectly. So I've got the head turn from front all the way around to the back. That's the back now. And now it turns the opposite direction and it keeps going until it faces front again. So now I've got that complete thing done, and it was done in a fraction of the time it would take to do it drawing by hand or copying, figuring out which frames to copy and paste, or translating the point motion. You'd have to trace it because the point, blah blah blah. So so then we're going to repeat that same process with the other layers. Um, and because we've already done our little flopping eye trick that I did earlier, we don't have to do that again. It's built in. It's already part of the file, and you never have to do that little flippy copy, change the X position again, because it's now part of the keyframes. It's part of the data, and all we have to do now is do the same thing for each layer. So I'm going to go there. I step forward and I click my little flippy thing. I step forward, click my little flippy thing. Step forward, click my little flippy thing. Step forward. I see I probably screwed up. Oh well, we'll figure it out. Flippy thing. Step forward. And we'll find the mistake if it's there. Okay, 336. Okay. All right, let's see if it broke anything. Okay, so we need to add 384. I need to go back in, of course, and add my curve and point translations to the last keyframe to complete the process. And there we have it. So now the eyes move in a complete cycle. So there we go. So that script's saving me a ton of time if I had to do this, especially if I made changes and needed to replicate this. I can easily go back in and using the same process, just copy the keyframes. Um, and that's why I'm saying the scripts aren't completely done, because what I should be able to do is just click the button once and have it go bloop 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 and do the whole thing. I shouldn't have to go in and skip to the next frame, and that's why it's not quite done yet, because I haven't included all that functionality in, mainly due to the fact that I was concerned about doing that much in one shot without being able to review what was happening. Once I streamline it and make sure that it's working the way it's supposed to, then I can combine it into one complete one-step click. All right, so now we're going to do the nose real quickly. Let's see, that's this one. I want to go to the halfway point, which is right here, and then go to this frame, and then flip the points. Don't worry if it looks all goofy when you do it, because it gets straightened out after it's all done. What you're seeing doesn't mean anything. Okay, so that's that. All right, so there it goes. And now I just copy once again to 384. I'm copying my last keyframe. And there we go. So now we have the whole face done. We have a complete circular. Oh, we got a little bit of a glitch here. Let's see. I must have skipped one. So let's see what we got here. All right, so this one I missed. So let me click the button, flip the points, and there we go. Now it's back to normal. Okay, so I missed one. Okay, now the only thing that's missing from this entire setup right now is layer ordering. And part of that's going to be a little tricky because of the eyes being on one layer. But I'm going to go ahead and do that because you can combine those eyes back together if you need to make changes later if you need to. And also too, we're going to do an opposite bone, which is going to be even quicker and faster because we'll be able to duplicate and flip this action into action 2 that does the exact same thing but in the reverse direction. And that one will it's still, you know, click to each frame and flip the points, but you're doing it all in one shot rather than step by step. And it'll go a lot faster. So now the next step will be layer ordering. So before I do the layer ordering, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my main timeline. I'm going to go to my left eye. I'm going to copy all the points, and I'm going to go to the right eye and paste those points. Now what this does is I've copied those points. They're identical, including the actions that are contained in them. So the right eye has the same actions. So what that allows me to do is I can go here and I can say, well, this is the visual or viewer's right eye, and this is the viewer's left eye here. So on the left eye, I'm going to delete the right eye, and on the right eye, I'm going to delete the left eye. So now I have the two layers. Now later on, if anything gets messed up and I need to do anything to the eye layering or the eye point movement, I can copy the right eye back into the left eye and make any changes I need, and then paste it back in, and the points are saved. But at this point, I think we're fine, and I'm going to go ahead and do some layer ordering now to make the head turn. So we get here, and I'm going to say right about, let's see, right about here. Now remember, you have to have depth sort enable animated layer order turned on in order to do this. All right, so right around frame 72, I'm going to change the order of the right eye. I'm going to make the right eye go behind the face. Okay. So there we go. So the right eye is going behind the face. Now keep in mind something about layer ordering. The keys are in the parent layer. So after you've changed the order, you're not going to see a key for the layer order. You have to go back up to the bone layer to see where the key is. Also keep in mind that when I move that right eye below the face in the layer ordering, I set an order for all the layers. So I can't just come back here to this one after I've set up layer ordering throughout the whole animation. If I come back to this one and change the right eye's ordering, it won't reflect through the whole sequence. Each keyframe that has layer ordering in it will change. So you have to keep that in mind. If you make a change in the beginning, you got to go on to every single layer frame and make that change. So, you walk through it carefully and precisely, and you get the hang of it. But what's nice about doing this in an action is you don't have to worry about it in the main timeline anymore. It'll just happen automatically. So now we're going to move forward, and we can see we get to frame 96. And that looks good. Now I'm going to move the nose behind the face. As the head turns, the nose goes behind the face. And then we continue around. And I'm going to determine when to put the left eye behind. I'm going to say right there at 120. So now I'm going to put the left eye behind the face. And we've completed that first layer ordering. So now we progress forward, blah, 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 blah. We go ahead and we get here. I would say right about here, we want to have the right eye come forward of the face. It looks about right. And then we get to the halfway point again, and we're going to have the nose come in front of the face. And we come around some more. And I would say right about, let's see, right about here. Yeah, let's do it right there. We'll have the left eye come up. Yeah, that might be too soon. All right, so the left eye. Let's see, I'm moving the wrong key. I think I'm on the layer order key. So I'm going to move this key forward a little bit. Actually, probably should be about there. Let's see. Now, as you can see, the nose doesn't flip soon enough because I moved the entire keyframe. And that keyframe includes layer ordering for the nose. This is what I was talking about earlier. Layer ordering has an adverse effect when you make changes. So here's where I want the nose to come forward. So I'm going to have to make a key here for the nose coming forward. Go back up here, and there it's correct because that key also contained a nose forward key. So there we go. So we got that. So that now we're done. We've got layer ordering in our action. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And if I come here now to my smart bone and I rotate it, I can rotate it all the way around to the back. And you can see here I can do a smooth turn left to right in the back view, and I can come all the way around to the front. And then of course it stops at the front. So now the next step is to simply duplicate this complete action into a second one with the bone going in the opposite direction, so it can turn in the opposite way. Now, if you look at it, you don't really need it, except now you can't do a smooth front side to side turn. There's no way to do it because here's the smooth up to the front and then it stops. And then here's the smooth turn here. You'd have to put like a step key or something, or two keys really close, and there'd be a little bump. And the problem is, no matter how you did it, that's what would happen whether you had front to side or back view. The back view would have a little bump. So we're repeating it. We're overlapping the action so that we can have a full smooth turn, no matter which way we're looking at the character. Okay, so enough said about that. I'm going to go ahead and make another action. I'm going to call it, name it after the same bone, action bone with a 2. And now to save some time, I'm just going to right click on the original action and say insert copy. Now what that'll do is that not only adds the bone keys, it adds all the point keys. Now the only problem here is, of course, is the bone is rotating in the wrong direction. So we have to reverse all the keys of the bone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the keys except for the frame 0 key. And I'm going to, now I don't know if this will work, but I'm going to see if it works. I'll turn on relative keyframing and I'm going to see if that works. I don't think it did, so that went that way. No, I didn't think it would. I wasn't sure it would or not. So basically, this might get a little bit tricky. The point is you want to know where the keyframes are. So I kind of already know that there's where all the bone rotation keyframes. It's every every 2 seconds I have a keyframe on this timeline. So just to make it easier, I'm just going to delete. And I know it goes in 45-degree increments every 2 seconds on this action timeline. So so I don't get confused, I'm just going to delete these keys. And this one will go this way. And then here. And then here. Here, that's our full back view. Here, it'll go to here. Skip ahead another 2 seconds. And then our last keyframe on 384. And there, now I have the reversed motion of the bones. Of course, now all of our vectors are going in the wrong way, and that's where we go back the same thing. So we'll start with the face. I'm going to select all the points, and this is here we don't have to do any adding or flipping of keys. The only thing we're doing is flipping the points. So we just step forward and hit this little button, step to the next keyframe, hit the button. And once again, this is what I was saying about I need to make this a little more streamlined so we don't have to do it this way. But for now, it was in development. I was able to test it and make sure everything was working. And it doesn't take that long. It just you just have to remember which one you do first. Click. I think I missed that one somehow. And there we're done. And something got discombobulated. Well, we'll figure that out. So it's turning now to the left. Turn around, it gets to here, and it turns to the right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it turns to the right. It goes full back. 312. Okay, I think, let's see, it turns here. Okay, here's the one that we missed. Let me click that. We either missed it or did it twice. I don't remember. That happens sometimes. And then they were to the front. And now we just do. Now here's where we run into trouble because we can't do the separate eyes in this new action. Okay, so now we're going to do the eye. And this is where we run into a little trouble because I already split the eye into two separate layers. And we can't do that. So what I'm going to need to do is, and I sort of skipped ahead. Sorry about that. You missed that part. But I went back to the main timeline and I deleted I deleted everything from the right eye, copied it and pasted it to the left eye again. Um, this will allow me now uh, to correctly flip the points of the left eye, and then when it's done, I will copy the right eye back to the right eye layer, just as I did previously. Now, um, I mean, we did that so that I could see the layer ordering properly. So, you might want to wait and do layer ordering after both actions are done. It's entirely up to you. I don't mind doing a little bit of extra work just to preview and see how it's looking. Um, but anyway, this is so the next we've got the face done. The next step I'm going to do now is I'm going to be flipping the um, the eye points for our action bone 2, and it's the same process. I select all the points and I click and flip, skip to the next frame, click and flip, skip to the next frame, and just continue this process until we're done. It doesn't appear to be doing anything until you're done, and then you scrub through the timeline and you can see that the points have been changed. So now you can see here that the point movement is correctly been changed to match up. You can see that the eyes are doing exactly what the face is doing. Um, and so now we're going to do the same process on the nose. So go back to the beginning, get to the first frame. The points are already selected, so I can just go ahead. And the last frame. Now, technically, I don't have to do that frame that's already straight on, but I just do it anyway so I'm doing everything the same every time. So there we go. Now the only thing I have to fix now is the eye layers. The eyes are perfectly correct. Everything's right. I even believe that the layer ordering is correct as well. So the only thing I have to do now is go to the main timeline, go to the left eye, copy the points, go to the right eye, make sure there's no points there, there aren't, and paste it in. So this is the visual right eye, so I'm going to delete the left eye. This is the visual left eye, so I want to delete the right eye, and then I'll just go back and review. And as you can see, because I duplicated the first action, the layer ordering is already in place and works correctly. Now let me just make sure that my copying and pasting didn't mess up the layer ordering of my first action. Nope, it's still correct. So there we go. We just did a complete, in a relatively short time. I mean, it's all relative anyway, um, how long something takes. But what I enjoyed about the process is that even though it's still a tedious process, um, it, I only had to concern myself with those original first two keyframes. As you recall, in the very beginning, I only did two keyframes. I did this three-quarter view and a side view, and that's all I did. Everything else was done by copying those first two keyframes. Everything else was just manipulating that original data. So it doesn't require tediously going through and keyframing every position of all those keys. And the problem with the way the keys are positioned, you would have to do that by hand if you didn't have a way of copying that data. So I believe these scripts do save a lot of time. And so now we have a full turn in both directions, which allows us a smooth back left to right turn and a smooth left to right turn for the front in either direction. So there's a lot of flexibility with this. There's a lot of extra overlap, but it's going to come in helpful. So anyway, I'll continue doing my little exorcist spin here, head spin, and I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you find some use for the script. And like I said, I will be updating the script and trying to streamline it, make it work a little more effectively, maybe build in some automated function for the eye flipping. Um, Also, too, just a note, ears have the same problem as the eyes. So ears will flip sides as well as the eyes because they're the same sort of thing. The left ear will become the right ear. So you have to sort of do the same kind of trick um, that you did with the eyes. You have to do with ears as well. Um, Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and see you on the Lost Marble forum. Thank you.